How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Liam and I am a guitarist and music producer from New Jersey. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to program metal drums if you are a guitarist or non-drummer and somebody who doesn't have any experience behind the kit. Maybe you want to put together some of your own music and you need MIDI drums to finish up your song. Before I start this video, I do just want to clarify that I am not a drummer. I am a guitarist and somebody who produces music at home. So my approach to writing drums is very basic. It doesn't require a whole lot of drum theory knowledge. So I think that as somebody watching this who is either a guitarist or non-drummer, it'll be very easy for me to kind of convey my process since I'm not really looking at it from a theory perspective. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to a channel called Joao Medeiros. It was because of his drum tutorial that I was able to start writing music for my band. I had all the guitars done and I was really stuck when it came to the drums, and his tutorial made it super simple, so I gotta give credit where it's due. I also wanted to show you guys the drum kit that I'm going to be using in this video. It is a free VST called Monster Drums. The link is right here, and I will also leave a link in the description so you guys can download it for yourselves. So with that being said, I think with you guys watching this video, as long as you have a decent sense of rhythm and time and you understand the purpose of the drums in the mix, the drums also serve basically as the foundation of the entire song, but their main job is to keep time. Changing something as simple as half time on the cymbals can have a huge impact on the intensity and feel of the song, and that's something that I'll go over a lot in this video, so no worries if you're still figuring that out. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you guys is this riff that I wrote without any drums. Alright, so that is the intro riff. It is in 4/4 or common time, and it is played at 220 beats per minute. So personally, I like to use a step sequencer. They're very popular in any kind of hip-hop or electronic music. I don't see a lot of people in the metal world using them, but I think it lays down a really simple foundation when you're programming drums. So if you guys don't use a step sequencer, that's completely fine. You can still follow along with this using the piano roll. This is just my preferred method for programming drums. I always go on the piano roll later to fine-tune things, change velocities, and all that. So the first thing I'm going to do for this part, I want it to be kind of half time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hi-hat on every single beat. So I'll show you guys that now. Alright, so we have an open hi-hat on every single beat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the kicks with every note on the guitar. So watch how I do this. Alright, so I have all the kicks laid down. So now you're going to hear the drums with a kick on every single note that I am playing on the guitar. There are going to be a lot of times in metal songs where you hear the kick and the notes on the guitar lined up, but from a general perspective, you don't want to always do that, or else the song is kind of going to lose energy because it's going to not feel very dynamic if you're just keeping the kick on every note of the guitar. When I first started writing my drums, that was actually a mistake that I made. I kind of overdid it on the kicks, and I kind of learned that sometimes less is more. I'll show you guys in this video how to kind of avoid falling into that trap as well. So I'm going to throw the snare on every 3, so that means on the 3rd tick of every beat. Should be another open hi-hat there. Alright, so now that we have laid down the foundation of the beat with the kick, hi-hat, and snare, we're going to be adding some crash cymbals to accent the beat. So basically the job of the crash here is going to be kind of to create a distinction between the different parts of the riff. So basically, listening here, we have the first 4 bars, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So adding a crash after that fourth bar kind of just distinguishes the first half of that 8-bar riff from the second. So that creates a little bit of variation in the beat and also keeps the momentum moving forward. Alright, so now we've added a little bit more variation to keep things interesting. Let's listen to it all the way through and see what other changes we can make. Alright, so I decided at the end of this, for the last 2 bars, I want to add a little bit of a fill. What I'm going to do here is just kind of experiment with the snare and the toms to see if I can come up with a pattern that sounds cool. And that is literally my approach. I basically just trial and error, see what sounds good and what doesn't. So basically what I did here is I just threw a tom, kick, snare, low tom, and another kick at the end, and I came up with this little fill for the end. Again, that's just going to create a little bit of variation, and it's going to kind of distinguish this section of the song that is now leading into another. So now we have basically laid down a foundation for a metal beat for the song. We started with halftime open hi-hats. We put the kick on every single note of the guitar, and then we did a snare on every third beat. We then used the crash to kind of accent the beat leading up to it. We distinguished the second section of the riff from the first by taking it out of halftime by putting a crash on every beat. We left the snare in the same place, and then for the last half of this beat we created even more variation by once again going back to halftime before ending with a fill. Alright, so we have officially laid down the foundation for the drums on this song. Let's take a listen to the final result. So that is basically my process when it comes to writing metal beats on the drums for my songs. This is just a little guitar riff that I came up with when I was noodling on the guitar, and I thought it would be a great idea to kind of make a video for this. It was something that I mentioned a couple of videos ago, and some people kind of liked the idea. I also kind of wanted to leave you guys with some final thoughts and tips for when it comes to creating your drums in MIDI. One thing you can do to make your drums sound better and more realistic and human-like. So this is a cool trick if you have Cakewalk. If you don't use Cakewalk, no worries, you can do this manually, or if your DAW has a feature, you can do the same thing. But if I go here into the piano roll, if I have all of the notes selected, I can go to MIDI plugins, uncategorized, and velocity, and what I can do here is randomize. That way every note that's being hit is not at the exact same velocity, so things sound a little bit more human-like. If you're not familiar with velocities, basically in your DAW when you're using MIDI, velocity is basically how hard each part of the kit is being hit. When you're using MIDI, originally everything's going to be hit at the exact same velocity. So you don't want to leave it that way or else your drums are going to sound very robotic. Another thing to remember when you're programming drums is that a drummer only has 2 hands. So you can't be hitting the snare, a cymbal, and the floor tom at the same time because obviously that would not work in a real setting. Of course, try not to be too repetitive with beats. Like I said earlier, especially in metal music, there are a lot of times where the kicks are matched up with the guitars. But if you did that throughout the whole song, things would start to kind of sound very bland and one-dimensional and not very dynamic. So it's good to mix the kick. Sometimes you want to subtract, sometimes you want to add. It's all dependent on the situation and the part of the song. Lastly, my final tip and my biggest tip that really helped me is just to listen to music. Listen to bands that you like and see what their drummers are doing. Find beats that you like, put your own twist on them, experiment. Like I said, I started from absolutely nothing when it came to writing drums for my music. It just took a lot of trial and error, and eventually I just kind of caught on and became second nature when it came to writing music. So if you guys enjoyed this tutorial, be sure to leave a like and comment down below. If you are new here, consider subscribing. I'll be uploading more content like this soon, and leave any suggestions you have in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.